If you've got a Bible, you go to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. Well, good morning, Flint City Church. We'll start here. We'll start where we love to start Sunday services. My kids, they're Generation Z, born after 2000, right? After 2000, yeah, born in 2000. My kids do not know a world before 9/11. Okay. For those of us that are millennials or Gen X or boomers, we know where we were the day that happened. For many of us, like the boomers, the builders, remember Pearl Harbor. But those of us, we remember 9/11. I was in Chicago. I had been working in Waterford, Michigan, in the evening. Word came to me that my good friend, his fiance, dumped him. He's just destroyed. The woman's been married, walked away, and he's just wrecked. So I got to work at 10 p.m., drive to Chicago, not tell my mom, to go to Chicago, to be with my buddy, to comfort him in his heartbreaking loss. So I'm there with him, helping him out. That's where I come home. I work that night. So I get up in the morning, September 11th, I drive home, I go downstairs, and everyone's gathered around the TV. I'm like, what happened? Oh, a plane hit the towers. Oh, so I'm watching. For me, initially, I'm like, that's weird, learn on the fly. Like, at first, there was no fear, no panic. Just like, it's a weird thing. And I was watching the TV the moment the second plane hit. And many people watching, the switch clicked, I realized it's not an accident. Something bad has happened. I remember I thought to myself, I'm in a major American city. I'm downtown in a high-rise. I remember I watched TV and I started backing up like, I got to get out of here. I ran outside to my car, tried out of the city, and it was too late. Everyone had the same thought I had, and the city, people tried to get out so fast. That was a tough day. They ordered every building in Chicago emptied out because they're afraid of more attacks in the major American cities. And 9/11 changed a lot of things for a lot of people. Flying has changed, right? Remember back in the day, you'd walk all the way to the gate and watch them go? Now, like, your shoes are coming off, your belt's coming off, your coat's too big. It's a different world now. But 9/11 changed more than flying. It changed more than laws. It changed more than the wars that started afterward. 9/11 for me changed something very primal. I don't know how it happened, but as I grew up as a person, and I looked around the world I lived in America. And even though I might have lived in Flint, even though I was poor in Flint, we still ate. We had government peanut butter, government cheese. They gave us like little food stamps. They're little you tear them out of a book back in the day. So even though we were poor, we still had food to eat. In my mind, I thought civilization, America, the world I knew, movies and TV and automobiles and highways and buildings. In my mind, these things would never ever stop. In my mind, America and civilization was a forever thing. When those buildings fell down, for the first time I realized this could all stop. Like, in my mind, many of us, we think smartphones and internet and TV shows and our jobs, we think every day is going to be like today. A lot of us think that the world is going to be forever going the direction it's going right now. But Jesus Christ in Matthew 24 tells his followers that the world indeed someday will end. That these things we think of as eternal are not eternal. The Bible says so horrifyingly, it says, everything that can be shaken will be shaken. That's a horrifying promise. look like? There's a lot of end of the world movies, right? Is there going to be aliens? Zombies? Is there going to be climate change? What's going to be the thing? I mean, my grandfather worried about nuclear war, right? My grandfather told me stories when he was in school. The kids would be under the desk, right? And put their hands between their knees. And I guess this will protect us from nuclear blast. I don't think it would. But there's this fear. What's going to end the world? War, famine, disease? What is going to make this world stop moving? And Jesus' followers ask him the question. They say, man, Jesus, they say, when will these things happen? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the world? What's it going to be like, man? And here Christ is going to describe it. Before I get into this, I'm in some deep, deep water today, okay? I'm going to be very careful not to speak beyond Jesus. So if he don't say it, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to, no dates, no nations. I've heard guys say, when the Russians come in from the north, I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no Russians in the Bible, yo. I'm not going beyond Jesus, okay? But before we jump in, I got to read this passage in Matthew 24:32. After Jesus describes the end of the world, there's this weird thing in the middle. He says this, from the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near at the very gates. So he's saying, when the tree begins to bud, you know the fruit is soon to follow, right? Just in the same way, when these signs take place, you know the end is near. Okay, I get it. And he says, truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. This one verse right here has freaked out people for generations. What is he saying? Is he saying the people he's talking to would see the end of the world? Because guess what? They didn't. The people he's talking to, they all died and never saw the end. I know some people who say, well, Jesus obviously was wrong. He thought the end was close, and it wasn't. Those guys are nuts. Jesus wasn't wrong here. So there's two different major opinions. I'm going to summarize them real quick. We're going to move on. Some people think that everything before this is Christ talking about the destruction of the temple. An event very close to them historically. So a lot of guys think that Jesus talking about the temple being destroyed, and these people here did see that happen. That's a pretty clean explanation, isn't it? Here's the problem. If you read, we're going to read it in a second together, there's stuff Jesus says that's bigger than Jerusalem. He says things like, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light. These kind of things are bigger than Rome blowing up a temple, right? The language is bigger, it's cosmic, it's like the whole world. Okay? Right. So I don't think all this stuff beforehand is just about the temple getting torn down. Other guys think that everything Christ said is about the future, about the end of the world. Well, if it's about the end of the world, how could Christ say this generation will not pass away until all these things come to pass? And what most Bible scholars have come to realize, when he says this generation, what came first was the fig tree. Remember? The fig tree. Consider the fig tree. When it gives up its leaves, know that the fruit is near. Okay? What Jesus is saying is, essentially, whoever's alive, when that tree starts to bloom, will be there when it all ends. So it's all going to happen in one generation. The end of the world in 40 years or 100 years, whenever it starts, it's a very short time before it ends. So we as a church, we definitely think Christ is talking more about the end of the world than about the temple getting torn down. So that's a lot of Bible nerd stuff. I just wanted to go there real quick, okay? Now let's move past it. So, 24 verse 15. Christ says this. They asked him, when does the world end? He says, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Here's what I want to say is this. The end is prophesied. The end of the world is prophesied throughout God's word and throughout God's people. I'm not just making this up. I'm not some conspiracy theory, basement internet web surfer guy making up crazy like, we didn't land on the moon. I'm not that guy, okay? This end of the world talk is not just one generation. I'm glad you liked it. But what I'm saying is, if you read the Old Testament, the Hebrew prophets, they would talk about the great and terrible day of the Lord. These guys all looked forward to a day when sin would finally and fully be pulled down. Amos, Daniel, Obadiah, Ezekiel, Zechariah, all these prophets prophesied that someday the world would come to an end. And not only did they say the world would end, all their prophecies line up. You have people in different countries, in different generations, declaring future events, and they're all on the same page. That's nuts. Not only that, every prophecy these guys ever prophesied came to pass. Not 50%, not 25%, I mean 100% accuracy. Think about the modern day prophet, the weatherman. How often do they hit it right? Today was sunny and 75. Who got wet coming in here today? The new high is 63 degrees. Like 2 hours ago, it was you're going swimming, and now you need an umbrella. That's it. Listen, and a weatherman can be right half the time and keep his job. Prophets of God, there was literally a line God said. He said, if one of a prophet steps up and says, thus saith the Lord, and if they're ever wrong, they're out. One mistake, and they're a prophet no more. They must only speak when God speaks. Daniel, who wrote this thing Christ quotes, Daniel was reading the book of Jeremiah. He had the scroll of Jeremiah. Daniel is literally in slavery in Babylon. He's reading the words of Jeremiah, and Jeremiah says, from the Lord, that the nation would be in captivity for 70 years. Daniel goes, wait a second. I've been here for like 68 years. Does the math? He's like, everyone get out in 2 years. And sure enough, in 2 years, they go free. These guys hit home runs knowing the future, what God was going to do. And Christ says, listen, when you see the abomination of desolation, well, what the stink is that? Sounds cool, don't it? The abomination of desolation. Whatever this event is, we know if you read Daniel, I'll read it. Hear what he says. Daniel says this. Okay, Daniel 9:24. Holy cow. 70 weeks are decreed about the people and your holy city. What's the holy city? Jerusalem. Okay. To finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, an end to sin, to atone for iniquity, to cover all iniquity, to bring everlasting righteousness. That's all. This is the end of the world stuff. To seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint a most holy place. If you read this whole passage, there's this thing called an abomination, desolation. And what we know about it is at some point in history, someone's going to enter into the temple, which right now doesn't exist. The temple isn't there right now. But at some point in history, someone's going into the temple of Israel and are going to do something to mock and affront God himself. And for that event is how it all begins. When it happens, the will all know. Now, fun fact, the temple isn't there right now. Okay, the temple isn't Israel. If you go to Israel right now, if you go to Israel, go to Jerusalem, where the temple's supposed to be is a Muslim holy place. The Dome of the Rock. I was in college once. This is college, pre-internet, pre-smart. No, the internet's there, but it's pre-smartphone, right? It's dial-up internet. Remember dial-up internet? Yeah, it's awful. Someone came onto our college floor. We're all Bible nerds. Someone comes in and goes, dude, on the news right now, the Jewish people are rolling the cornerstone to the temple site. Someone said that and I was like, oh shoot! And I thought the world's going to end right now! It freaked me out! So first I want to say about this is this. The end of the world is prophesied. I'm not making this up. Jesus says, God says, that someday the world as we know it will be no more. No more AC in the stinking summer, heat in the winter, no more paying our bills and going to Minor, going to Aldi's, all that ends, okay? At some point, all that we think of as like necessary ceases to exist. It's prophesied that the world will end. So, happy Father's Day. But listen, not only does like the good stuff get torn down, but sin is finally, fully dealt with. Have you ever been done wrong? Where someone does you wrong and no one knows, and everyone thinks that you're the bad guy, you know you're not the bad guy? Someday, all the evil crap will be brought into the light, and God will deal with it all. It's going to happen someday. No more powerful, evil people crushing the weak. Someday I have to push those guys over. The end is prophesied. Number 2, the end is awful. The end is terrible. I'm going to describe it right here, okay? It's just horrible. Here we go. When this happens, let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who's on the housetop not go down to take what is in his house. So when this happens, you run. You don't go to your house and take a bag, I need some underwear, I need some deodorant. You get out of town. You know what's crazy is, you know on a plane, they say it's an emergency, don't grab your luggage out of the top things, okay? Don't grab your carry-ons. Dude, there was a plane went down overseas in Europe, and like half the plane died. They said people died when people were stopping, they'd get their luggage out of the top racks. And people in the back couldn't get out, they burned alive. Over chonies! Over sticking undershirts and toothbrushes. Jesus says, when this thing starts blowing up, you don't grab the suitcase. You get out of the city centers, basically. Whenever this happens, it's bad. It's real bad. He goes, run! And he says, listen, let the one who's in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days. He's saying, man, it's going to be harder for mamas with babies because how do you run with a baby? How do you run if you're pregnant? He says, pray that your flight may not be in winter or on a Sabbath. You don't want the world to blow up when it's wintertime. It's cold outside, man. If the power went out today, right now, it's inconvenient. The power goes out in the wintertime. That's dangerous, ain't it? Because it's so cold. Ice can freeze. You can get like frostbite in your fingers. Just pray it's not in winter. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been from the beginning of the world until now, no, and never will be. When this thing happens, we have never seen things as bad as this. And the world's seen some bad stuff happening. World War II, bad stuff. The Black Plague in the medieval days. They say that like half of Europe got wiped out in the Black Plague, which is like globally 10%. 10% of the globe in one pandemic wiped out. To this day, there are villages in Europe buried under time, and no one knows what happened. Black Plague came through, people ran from the village, and the village was just buried over time. No one knows the history of those people, those places, how many died. This is worse than that. I'm going to read some Revelation for us, which is always fun. Listen to this. And this is a famous verse for all those who like Westerns. Revelation 6:7. When Jesus opened the fourth seal, when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and hell followed with him. And they were given authority over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. A quarter of the world dies in this thing. We cannot comprehend what it does to society. If one every four of us passed away, I go to verse 12 now. Listen to what the world happens to the world. When he opened the sixth seal, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth, and the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth as the fig tree sheds its winter fruit when shaken by a gale. The sky vanished like a scroll that's being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, and the great ones, and the generals, and the rich, and the powerful, and everyone, slave and free, hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains, calling to the rocks and mountains, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who is seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath is come, and who can stand?" When this whole thing stops, it's horrible. It's not a joke or a punchline. The end of the world is going to be, I have little babies. They're not babies. They're 6 and 8. Man.
They're babies.
I think we'll always call them my babies. I think that might happen. They're young. And not often, but once in a while when I pray, I'm like, "Lord, not yet." Like, I sometimes pray for more time, Lord, whatever happens. Not now. It's a weird prayer. Because part of me, I want Christ to return and make all things right. Part of me also afraid how bad it would be. The end of the world is awful. I'll do this next. Verse 23. Verse 22. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. The end is prophesied. The end is awful. But the end is short. It says here, man, if it wasn't short, no one would survive it. If it was too long, everyone would burn. So, how short is it? We find the answer in Daniel. The end of the world, this tribulation thing, Daniel says basically it's 7 years long. Revelation agrees. It's this 7 year. Christ said, when the fig tree starts to bloom, that generation will not die before it all happens. 7 years is short enough time for us to see it all begin and end in one generation. When this thing starts, it's not 20 years, 30 years. It is 7 years of suffering we've never, ever imagined. And then it's over. Daniel, I'm going to go deep into this. Daniel says essentially, in his prophecy of the end of the world, he goes, 70 weeks and the world ends. And that's really close. Like 70 weeks. How long is that? Is that a year? A year and a half? Yeah, like 2 weeks a year. A year and a half. Sounds short. But Daniel's saying, in the prophecy, essentially, a week is 7 years. So it's 70 sevens. It's like 490 years, okay? Here's the crazy part. If you read all of Daniel's prophecy, he says there's 69 years, 69 weeks from the return of Israel to Jerusalem, from the coming of the Anointed One, the Messiah. And some Bible scholar dude did all the math. From the day Israel returned to Jerusalem, did all, 490 minus 7 is 483. Math is awesome. Did all 483 years and came to like April 3rd, 33 AD. The day Christ entered Jerusalem and was called King of the Jews. Daniel said, the Messiah will come in 69 weeks. He will enter into the holy city and be called the king. And it's thinking happened to the day. And then, in prophecy, there's a pause, there's a moment, there's going to be this moment of waiting between week 69 and week 70. Remember, groups of 7 years. There's 1 week left. That's 7 years of blow up everything and wait for it to start. It's like the last period of time promised by Daniel. When does it start? I don't know. But we know the end when it happens is short. Which means you don't gotta freak out if someone says like it's happening. We're all gonna know when it's happening. Like if the moon turns to blood, we're all gonna notice. I'm just saying, if the stars are falling out of the sky, I'm gonna see it too. Me and the Russians and the Indians, we're all gonna see it at the same time. Like something bad is happening right now. When it happens, no one's got to be told. We're all going to know something bad has occurred. And it's going to get worse, and it's going to be turned up to 11 and 12. It's going to be nuts. The end of the world is prophesied. The end of the world is awful. And the end of the world, it's short. It's a short period. So, okay. What do you do with all that? I'll conclude with 2 bits of advice. There are 2 equal and opposite mistakes you can make when it comes to the end of the world. First is not believing it. It's very easy for us as followers of Christ to love our home. It's very easy for us to think this place I live is this is everything. My house and my family and my stuff and my job. This is what matters. All this is forever. And to love it and hold it and say, I love you. Listen, all this stuff. My good friend, pastor out in Fenton, Michigan, he was on a mission trip to Cuba, preaching Jesus. While he's gone, his house burned down. Okay? He's in Cuba with bad phone signal. Someone gets through the text, and the text says, dude, your house is on fire. And he can't get a signal after that. That's all he gets. And he's got to go preach at an evening thing. He doesn't know if his kids are safe. He's got 5 kids. And they're at home. He didn't know, for an hour of life, he didn't know what had happened. Goes and preaches, his wife's trying to text people, trying to get through, trying to find cell service. Finally finds somebody. The kids are all safe. And one of the little girls, the little babies, the baby, was in part of the house when the fire started. And the babysitter went in there and got her out and saved her life. When they found that out, kids are safe. Do you think they cared about the couches that burned alive, that burned? Do you care about the dishes that you got for your wedding? Do you care about the computer as the coolest, newest one you got? My buddy had a sweet watch, burned. He showed me a picture of the burned watch. I said, oh, kids are safe. What I'm saying is, something like that makes you wonder what really matters in life. A lot of us, we hold onto this world way, way too strongly. This world is not our home. We are sojourners. We are migrants. We're foreigners. We're passing through this place on our way to our real home. So, as you live here, remember, all this stuff can fall down. It can all fall down. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. The first mistake is not believing. If you just ignore the end of the world, it's going to bite you in the butt. Just first mistake you make, remember there are two equal and the opposite. The station becomes the end of the world, and the first is not believing it. The second is being morbidly curious about it. I know people who spend all their time on end of the world, weird studies and conspiracy theories, building what are those things called under the ground? Fallout shelters with sticking military meals in there and generators. When zombies come, I'll be all right. Listen. You can't live all the way there. It might not happen in our lifetime. Every Christian I know is it's good. It's happening. It's so close. Listen, every Christian generation since Christ has been saying it's so close, and they've all been wrong. You can't live in this horrid fear of, is it now? Is it now? Is it that? Iran, is that the end? We can't just watch the world freaking out every time some world leader flexes their muscles. It's like, oh man, maybe he's Putin, maybe he's the Antichrist. We can't live in that kind of fear. We know what's going to end. We can't live in some morbid curiosity chasing our tail. Even though this world's not our home, we have to live here, right? We got to live here. I'll end this way. There's a church in Thessalonica, and Paul wrote a letter to them called the letter of Thessalonians. Okay? And these guys were all convinced Christ is coming back. They're convinced the world's going to end real soon. They all quit their jobs, gave all their money to the church, and Paul had to come back and go, guys, don't quit your jobs and don't leave your families. Provide for your loved ones. Live a normal life in a normal way. Stop freaking out. Even though it's with our home, we got to live here, right? Got to pay bills. Keep the lights on. So even though this is not my home, I do got to be a good steward while I'm here. I mow my grass every week. I get to know my neighbors. I love my kids and my wife. These are things we do as people. So even though this world is not our final home, we do stinking live here, right? There's an old phrase that someone is so heavenly minded, they're of no earthly good. Don't be that person. So, don't forget, this world is not our home. But also, we do live here. You got to live with that tension. This world is going to end someday. But until it does, we take care of it. We're a good steward, responsible, what we do. Okay, now, if you're here and you have any questions, They're like, Pastor, man, you said some crazy stuff today. I'm in an office across the street, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 4. You're going to stop by and ask questions. You want to email me, text me, go ahead. We can talk about stuff. We can open the Word together, look deeper into it. I'm not against that. But Christ said it, so take it to you. That's what the end of the world looks like. As we leave, we remind you, Papa's in the house. There is gifts for you as you leave. I thought to myself, what would I want as a dad? I want meat. So, we have 3 kinds of sausages. We have barbecue blueberry brats. Sounds freaky. The best brat I've ever had. We have, for those of you who like spice, your dad likes spice, we got some firecracker habanero ones out there. Blow your mouths up.
There you go.
And also, those guys who don't like, who are more like, I want a more safe lane, we have the sweet Italian brats. Okay. So, papas, dads, we want to bless you. Thank you so much for doing what you do as fathers. Grab one on the way out. If you're a volunteer for Kids Club, we're going to have lunch over there in the kids' room and do some volunteer stuff for Kids Club. Let's go ahead and pray, and we'll be dismissed. Father in heaven, thank you so much for life and for time. For all the gifts you've given. For the blue sky, the smell of flowers, the touch of a loved one. These things are all true gifts that we are grateful for. Let us appreciate these gifts without worshiping them. Let us enjoy this good world you made without making it our God. Father, let us remember that you are the one true God. And even these good things, even this grass and these trees will someday be made new. And to be made new, they must die first. Help us as people to remember that we are in this world but not of it. This world is not our home. Help us to be faithful and responsible sojourners on the way to the far country. Bless the day and the week and keep the rain away, Father.